Man, I'm so excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. I mean, it's going to be action-packed, a lot of twists and turns. Come on, bro. Why did she have to say that? Why did he have to do that? Oh, come on, dog. Let's just get into my spoiler-free review, bro. Come on, bro. Come on. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today, yes, we're talking all about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Thanks so much to Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures for giving me the chance to watch this early for review in Dolby Cinema, which feels like it's going to be the large premium format to go to if you're going to watch Spider-Man Brand New Day. The sound was excellent, and it looked really pretty in our theater as well. Now, the movie itself does not hit theaters till July 31st, and I did drop my out-of-theater reaction where I explained to you in one simple emotion at the beginning of that reaction where I said, whew, and that is because this movie packs an emotional punch from scene 1 to the very end of this movie. I mean, there's so much to dive into, guys, but before we do that, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, you know what to do. Hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, or you will be webbed. This will only make sense if you are watching the movie this weekend. And let me know in the comments below when you do see the film, where does it rank for you among the Tom Holland movies? Remember, we had Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, and now Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is directed by someone brand new. The brand new puns are funny here. But before we had 3 John Watts movies, and now we have director Destin Cretton, who directed Wonder Man recently, and even Shang-Chi, and The Legend of the Ten Rings, and now he finds himself in the director's chair for his first Spider-Man film. And boy, does this man bring a very unique and emotional tone to the film. I think that is much needed. And the film itself is starring, of course, your familiar faces: Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Zendaya as MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned. You even have Sadie Sink in undisclosed role number 1. And we have Tillman as Bill, who is the director of the Department of Damage Control. So this is pretty cool, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. This is a very different Spider-Man movie. But does that make it a great Spider-Man film? Well, we're going to dive into that right now. But before we do that, of course, I want to talk to you a little bit about what the movie is about. Because, well, actually, I can't say much about that. So I'm going to read you like 1 or 2 lines. A forgotten Peter Parker lives alone as a full-time Spider-Man until mounting pressure triggers a dangerous change and a powerful new enemy emerges. In terms of the timeline for the MCU, this is coming basically 4 years after the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, where, if you remember, of course, Doctor Strange casts the spell to make everyone forget who Peter Parker is, so that the world really only knows Spider-Man. And that is to, of course, protect MJ and Ned and everyone he loves, which also makes things complicated for this movie because he's starting fresh. And that's what this movie really feels like. So let's get into my positives. Man, I have a lot of positives for this film, but I want to start with the tone, feel, and look of this movie because it is wildly different than the first 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. And you know what? I welcomed it. It was a beautiful take on Spider-Man. The way this movie is shot by cinematographer Brett Pollock is gorgeous. It has the most cinematic feel to any of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. It looks, and honestly, I could tell you that it feels like they shot on location. Now, I mean, sure they did sound stages and green screen at times, of course, but this just gives more of that authentic New York feel than any of the other Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. I also love the direction that Destin Cretton decided to go in, which is this movie is going to deal with grief and trauma, but it does a very good job at still having enough levity to make it accessible for all ages. Now, sure, does the script have a lot more profanity than the previous Spider-Man movies? Absolutely. That's what happens when you bring in the Punisher, I guess, into this film. Do they use the Lord's name in vain pretty often? Yes, and I didn't love that at times either, of course. But the script overall complements the direction in which Destin Daniel Cretton wanted to go into. There is a depth to Spider-Man Brand New Day unlike anything we've seen before in Spider-Man. Yes, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man does provide a lot of emotional layers to it. Even Andrew Garfield brings a nice tinge of sadness to the role. But Tom Holland gives you both. He gives you a character who's dealing with trauma and also trying to make the best out of a situation in which the love of his life and his best friend do not remember him. So it's the tug of war match in between two areas of his life, his old life and his new life. And that's what this movie does a great job of exploring. For the entire runtime, which is 2 hours and 25 minutes, we spend time with Peter Parker at the lowest moment of his life when his other half, Spider-Man, is at the peak of his life. He's helping the Department of Damage Control fight crime. He's really helping local authorities. It's pretty darn cool, right? But it's Peter Parker who's suffering. And this movie really expresses that near perfectly. And we needed moments where it was silent, where maybe we don't have much going on other than the acting on screen. And that was a welcome change too, because I just watched No Way Home, and that's action-packed. And it does have nice emotional moments. I will say that Brand New Day is arguably more emotional than No Way Home, but of course, I found No Way Home to be more nostalgic. So it is giving you exactly what I think you need for a story in which it is starting fresh. That's what Brand New Day feels like, a fresh start for Spider-Man, or Tom Holland Spider-Man, in the MCU. And of course, with any Spider-Man movie, especially the ones now in the MCU, the music has to be great. Well, that's the expectation. I mean, Michael Giacchino is one of the greatest composers of all time, and his work here is felt a little bit less in terms of impact compared to the other films, but it's felt. There's piano covers and renditions, motifs you hear throughout. There's even a moment in the first half of the movie where I thought, this is giving a very classic Spider-Man feel. So there were nice moments where things were coming together, and it made for a very enjoyable experience, albeit an experience that is pretty sad in nature. And without great performances in this movie, you are not going to be able to experience that sadness. And I'm happy to say that Tom Holland absolutely crushes it in this film. There's not a singular scene where I thought he's taking a beat off, or maybe it is just tonally not meshing with the rest of the film. No, he's Mr. Consistent in the MCU, and here, what I like is that he can really show his range a bit more. I've always known he has it in him with the way he acts with his eyes, but in this movie, there are scenes with him and with Sadie Sink, and there are scenes with him and John Bernthal, and definitely Tom Holland and Zendaya, where I just wanted to cry. There is a scene with Zendaya and Tom Holland here where I thought I was literally going to begin bawling in my press screening, and because there was only like 15 or 20 of us, everyone would have known it was me. But man, it was a great showcase of Tom Holland's acting ability. Yes, this is a superhero movie, of course, but this is a great drama. And that's because the movie it's not afraid, I should say, to actually get into the psyche of Peter Parker. And they don't just address it in one scene and that's it. No, the entire film, you're seeing this psychological battle between Sadie Sink, and you have Tom Holland, and then Zendaya, and then you have, of course, Ned, played by Jacob Batalon, where everyone's seemingly on different pages in different parts of their lives, but it's this movie where it's a convergence point where they just come together and they are just delivering amazing performances. So outside of Tom Holland, of course, I do want to talk about Zendaya, because there are instances in this movie where she gets the chance to display not just MJ, a different side of her acting ability. See, I'm being careful here. We get a very vulnerable MJ. We get a happy MJ. We get a very sad MJ, but also we get a side to this character again that just seems like it is only for Zendaya. Like, she's the only one that can deliver this performance, and I love that for her. I also really love Sadie Sink in this movie. Now, you're probably asking me, who the heck does she play? I'm not telling you. Watch the movie, okay? But Sadie Sink is an actress who I've loved since I've seen her in Stranger Things, of course. But what I enjoy about her performance here is that we have not seen a performance like this before in the MCU. Sure, have we gotten emotional performances and I would say top tier scenes with other actors and actresses? Absolutely. But we have not necessarily seen acting like this before Sadie Sink in the MCU. And I think that's pretty cool. Sure, it's because of the character to some degree, but outside of that, I do think that she's very, very good at playing off of Tom Holland in many of the scenes in which they are together or maybe even separate. But I also really liked a new addition here, Tramell Tillman. Yes, he's largely a supporting character, but when Bill is on screen, we have some moments where you can physically see the switch in his character. It's cool. Goes from a likable dude to someone who's like, bro, I got authority here, okay? He's great at doing that. We've seen that before. Severance is a great example of that on Apple TV. But man, does Tramell Tillman continue to deliver, and I'm excited for hopefully more of him in the MCU. Now, I do want to talk about some instances we get between Tom Holland and Jon Bernthal, because I believe that Jon Bernthal absolutely is a scene stealer in this movie. Every time he's on screen, it's either funny or very captivating. And that's because, I mean, I've seen some of the hate lately about Jon Bernthal only acting one note. Stop lying to yourselves, you guys. The man has range, and he displays it very nicely here as Frank Castle. Him and Tom Holland are just so good together on screen. Their chemistry is palpable. It's fun, funny, but also very heartfelt at times. I was not expecting that, but it is something that if you've seen seasons 1 and 2 of The Punisher on Netflix, and even his appearances in Daredevil, you come to understand that this character can be a character in which they use him as a vehicle for someone who's dealing with PTSD and grief, and that's something they don't shy away from here in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Heavier on the grief side, of course, but I do love the relationship here in this movie, and I think that, well, when it comes to team-up films, if we were to see more of Spider-Man and the Punisher in future films, sign me all the way up. And there are other supporting cast members I do want to highlight here, like Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner. Listen here, I can really only say this about his performance in this film. Finally, that's the word that came to mind. We finally get a great depiction of Hulk. I mean, I've been waiting for this for so long, you guys, in the MCU, and thank goodness Destin Daniel Cretton delivers the goods with Hulk in this movie, okay? And I do like his performance as Bruce Banner, but the main takeaway is the Hulk scenes, of course. And I do love Lisa Colon Zayas, who plays Detective the Wolf. She's very good in this movie, and she does get a decent amount of screen time, especially with Peter Parker, and it does work for me quite a bit, honestly. She's kind of like a chameleon. She can do it all in every role I've seen her in. And then I do want to mention Jacob Batalon. Sure, less of an involvement in this movie, all things considered, but man, Ned is still fun in this film. Like, he does provide a lot of comedic relief, and his timing is still great, okay? It is just wonderful to see. And for mega fans of Spider-Man, you're going to be very happy with the fact that this movie gives you some cool Easter eggs. I mean, for real. There are some characters that get shown in this movie that I'm like, oh, dang, I'm with it. That's MCU canon. All right, oh, awesome. What? I'm not even going to tell you who they are. I want you to be surprised like I was. But it's really cool when you see that. So Destin Daniel Cretton does understand the audience, right? The core audience is going to be Spidey fans. So really cool to see that this movie gives you enough, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say breadcrumbs, Easter eggs, right, in this film. And speaking of Easter eggs, you're wondering, oh, there's a post-credit scene, right? There's one. Very end, just one. And I got theories about it, but I can't talk about it right now. I also thought the VFX in this movie wasn't terrible, but what really stole the show was the swinging sequences. And it's really cool to see Peter Parker play with a new way to web. I don't want to say more than that, but it really is neat to see that on screen. And there are instances where he's learning, basically relearning how to swing, and even that looked really good. I'm telling you, the swinging here, I was just like, man, where was this in the first 3 Tom Holland movies? Not saying it's terrible, but like this kind of web swinging, like capturing this just looked so much cleaner, so much better. Of course, it helps that the way the movie shot is more cinematic, so the web swinging sequences do look different, but it was clean. And all of the action was filmed very well. If I'm not mistaken, Jackie Chan's stunt team worked on the fight choreography here in this movie. Brothers, sisters, webheads, let me tell you. The fighting in this movie is some of the coolest action sequences in the MCU, bar none, let alone among the Holland Spider-Man films. Man, there were some instances where he's fighting the Hand, and I thought, how in the world did they think of this? It is cool to see. It just really feels kind of large scale sometimes while being a very contained movie. Like this movie does, for all intents and purposes, it does have a very large ripple effect in the MCU, but it still feels like a contained Spider-Man movie. That's a pretty good thing about this film. I would say that's a pretty great accomplishment for the entire cast and crew, because this being the last movie before Avengers Doomsday, I thought, boy, they're going to overload this film, and they really didn't. Alrighty, y'all, so those were the positives, right? I want to get into some negatives, because while I do love this movie and it is sitting well with me, I found a couple areas a little lacking. So for as much as I was given love to the music in this movie, I feel like the composition by Michael Giacchino is less impactful than the other 3 Spider-Man films. I'm not mad at that, because the bar is so high for those movies when it comes to the music, but it wasn't as noticeable here. And that's not to say it isn't noticeable at all. It just felt like the movie didn't use music as effectively as the others. However, I will give the film credit for silence, because at times, when there are scenes where Tom Holland is acting his tail off, okay, you don't necessarily need music. So I like that. But on the same topic of music, outside of maybe a more or less impactful score here, I found the needle drops in the first act of this film to be pretty annoying. Sometimes it worked, most times it did not, and I'm like, oh boy, please let this not be 2.5 hours of needle drops, and thankfully it wasn't. I don't know why they decided to have as many needle drops as they did within the first 45 minutes of this film, but it did not necessarily work for me all that well. I would prefer the MCU just kind of lessen the whole needle drop montages that we usually get. It wasn't necessary in this film. And when it comes to the pacing of the movie itself, I had some issues in the second act. Now, I understand why they did what they did, but there are times where we are learning more about Sadie Sink's character, and it felt like the momentum took a little bit of a halt. And it's not terrible because we don't linger there too long, but it is noticeable. And I found myself thinking, this is the scene where I'm checking my watch a little. But by the end, I feel the payoff was worth that little detour. You know what I mean? It's just in the moment, the pacing does tend to get a little bit disjointed because we're trending away from Spider-Man in those scenes. And they're not short scenes, y'all. So there are times where you do feel a little bit of that weird balance or imbalance in the story, because this is supposed to be the jumping off point for something pretty major in the MCU. But I say all that to say this, you guys. Overall, Spider-Man Brand New Day is a film that as I'm sitting with it longer and longer, I'm finding more things to love. This is a perfect mix of emotion, drama, heart, and humor all in one Spider-Man film. that's beautiful for me, because as a fan of this character and of what Tom Holland is doing with this character, it is just a nice payoff, because I wanted something fresh with Brand New Day. We get that and so much more. Like, there are moments where you just think, or at least I was thinking, okay, Marvel's nailed it, not only with the casting, but with the creative decisions they're making in this film. Sure, I thought that maybe the pacing at times was weird, but for the most part, this movie does not stray from what makes it great, and that is leaning on Tom Holland, leaning on Zendaya, leaning on Sadie Sink, and allowing Destin Daniel Cretton to leave his footprint on this film. He's got his DNA in this movie from start to finish, and I love the fact that this film is different. It is a different Spider-Man movie from the first three, and it needed to be that. And that's why this movie is successful to me. Now, is it my favorite of the Tom Holland movies? No. As of now, I would say No Way Home is still number 1, Brand New Day is number 2, Homecoming is 3, and Far From Home is 4. Here's the thing though. All of the movies I listed are at the lowest 4.5 stars and at the highest a 5. And I will tell you that I'm giving Spider-Man Brand New Day a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It packs a punch. And I left that theater feeling impacted and thinking a lot personally about relationships that I have, friendships, my relationship, my, relationship with my family. And I'm like, this movie's strength is in its relationships, how much Peter values them, and exactly what he's willing to do to try and preserve that. And it's pure. This is a pure film. And I really, really liked the direction for the movie, the acting in the film, the action. It just seemingly worked from top all the way to bottom. So, you guys, Spider-Man Brand New Day is a film that I do recommend you see in a theater. If you're a Spider-Man fan, you're going to watch it anyway. So when you do, let me know what you think of it, because I loved my time with this film. I'm really emotionally impacted by this movie. And if you are too, hit the big red button below so we can talk more about Spider-Man and movies in general. You guys, get subscribed to the channel because this has been so fun. Leave a like on the video too if you haven't already, y'all, because man, it's a film that I can't wait to watch again, because I'm picking up, I'm sure, on little details that I might have missed the first time around. But this film, there's a lot to love with Spider-Man Brand New Day. And I'm very happy I came away positive on the film. Alrighty, y'all. Well, there you have it, my spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Man, there's just so much I want to talk about, but I can't, because I think, we got Feige looking at me right now. Bro, I'm good. Alrighty, you guys. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless y'all, and I'll catch you at the next screening.